Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at translating words into math. So you see this a lot, not just in with word problems in the elementary level, but also as you move into pre-algebra in the middle school and in high school. We see this a lot, and it can get rather confusing as to how things should be set up, especially when we look back at our properties of numbers and how that works. That we know that with addition, we can put anything in order. We can do 2 plus 3, 3 plus 2, and get the same result. But talking about subtraction, you couldn't do 3 minus 2 and then 2 minus 3 and get the same results there. So we're going to be talking about that today. I will be highlighting some of the phrases that can get rather confusing, or I see students get caught up with. So you definitely want to highlight that. And then we're going to be looking at some higher level types of phrases and going in reverse, taking a expression and putting it into words to also help students out better understand what's taking place. So I hope you enjoy it. Please make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification button below, and leave any comments as to things that you would like to ask about, or if you enjoyed the video or if you found it helpful. Thanks. Okay, everybody, the first thing I'm going to do is provide this little chart here with some words that are associated with operations, like our standard operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, equals, parentheses. Some of the things that are left out are when we talk about square roots and powers. So I want to try and talk about that a little bit, but this is a good resource to have moving forward with any type of word problems, especially, but also what we're going to look at today, where we're translating words into math and vice versa. All right, here we're going to look at 3 examples of some problems that we could have on a worksheet or on our test or something like that. So the first one I would definitely want to highlight. All right, so we see that we have 200 less than half of a number. So we should look at that. We see that we have less than, which indicates that we're going to subtract. All right, but this is one of those problems that my students have a really hard time with, because as we said before with our commutative property, it does not apply to subtraction. So 200 less than means that you're taking 200 away from something that you have already. So the 200 actually gets shifted to the back, not the front. Okay, so that's out. We have our less than. Half of a number, there's one of 2 ways here that you could write this, okay? So the first, we're going to use x as our variable. Half of a number would just be dividing it by 2. But another way that you could write this is saying 1/2 of, or times, a number minus your 200. So those are 2 ways that would be acceptable. All right, the next one, we have the quotient of p and 4 decreased by 320. So quotient, that should indicate that we're going to divide. Decreased by should indicate that we're going to subtract. But take note that we have this comma here, which usually indicates that we should put something in grouping symbols. All right, so with quotient, I try to have my kids write it as fractions, because we're going to see less and less of that division sign. So we can write p over 4. All right, now we can put grouping symbols around it, but as we know with order of operations, division is going to come first regardless. But just to get into the practice of that, we really should put grouping symbols. Decreased by is 3 over, decreased by would be minus 320. But as I said, this would be acceptable as well, but we really want to get into the practice of writing it as we saw over here on the left. All right, and then the last one, it says twice the sum of a number and 600. So the word twice is a little tricky, but the word sum, we should know that that means addition. All right, so with addition, remember with the commutative property, it doesn't really matter the order, but we'll just go right down the line. Twice the sum of a number and 600. So this is where you got to be careful. So we have to find, the sum means the answer in an addition problem. So we have to actually find the answer of a number plus 600 and then multiply it by 2. So I have the 2 in the back, the 2 could be in the front, but all that matters is that this 2 should come last. We should be multiplying last. So that one's a little bit tricky, so you got to watch out for those types of problems. Okay, now we're going to go in reverse here, and we're actually going to come up with some phrases for these particular expressions. Now, as a teacher, there's a couple different ways or multiple ways that a student may come up with a phrase, okay? So typically, I don't have the kids write the number portion in word form, but in this case here, we're going to. So we have 100 minus And this is just, remember, one of the ways that you could do this. This is very straightforward. All right, now we have to find the answer of 54 over W. So we would have to say 100 minus the quotient. Remember, because quotient means the answer in a division problem of 54 and W. Okay. Now you could have said the quotient of 54 and W less than 100. That's a little bit trickier, so it's really hard for students to come up with that because we talked about that less than before. But this would be the most straightforward one. All right, for this we could say y squared plus the product of 4mi I want to write that as a number, plus 7. All right, so once again, pretty straightforward for those ones, even though it looks like it could be tricky. Okay, so I hope that video was helpful for you. One of the things that you want to watch out for, as we said, is when it says less than, you actually want to switch the order. If there's a comma, it usually indicates that there's going to be some type of grouping symbol that's going to take place. And then also divided into, we haven't talked about that in the videos, but divided into would mean that first number is going to actually come last, because as we said before, commutative property does not apply to subtraction and division from what we spoke of so far. So I hope that was helpful for you. Please be sure to leave a comment. Please subscribe and click the notification button. And if you're having any other issues, feel free to reach out. Thanks.